Alright, so I was gonna take those campy chorus cranks and cut the big chainring in little pieces to make spacers from the back side, the little chainring on the front. But the little chainring is only 39, and the fixed gear cog on the Shogun's like a 17. It's pretty easy gear. The only freewheel I have, it's like an 18. 39 18's really easy. It's too easy. Probably. I mean, really. And I didn't take them off eBay. And someone bid on them, so I was like, whatever. I do these Shogun cranks. They're a little ugly and scruffy. The end was a little half eaten away, a little blah looking. And I got this cool chainring from the last bike part score. And it's got kind of a champagne anodizing on it. It's a little worn off from the teeth. The champagne everywhere else. It's a 42, and I'm way more into 42. 17, I think that'd be pretty easy, that being too easy. So I went to Harbor Freight, got some files for the other chain rings and the campy cranks, but I also got a little polishing stuff. Now them back, I think. I used to do this all the time in the shop with a big Eastwood buffer. I had some heavy duty degreaser that was good at stripping ano. I did try it once with the oven cleaner and had medium results. I was checking on YouTube and some guys using Drano, and I got some Drano. And I've also got a shower that's a little bit plugged up, so I won't feel bad about pouring this leftovers down the shower. So in the video, the guy didn't know what he was doing at all, but it seemed like it worked. He used hot water, which I put some hot water in here already. A bunch of this Drano Max Gel. Seems like a lot to me. Let's party. Saving just a little bit in case I have to do a second coat or something. And I'm going to go ahead and throw this ring in. I really did find this green heavy duty degreaser worked really well. It took about 5 minutes to strip just about anything, sometimes 10 or 20. Some real serious ano. And that's not really enough water to cover everything. I got a drip, a splash on my hand, so I'm gonna go wash my hands and get a little bit more hot water. So I got a little more hot water. Just want to cover those cranks. There we go. That's kind of at an angle. So luckily, these aren't black, so it'll be hard to see. But they're silver. I should be able to see. Maybe the camera will pick it up a little bit. We'll leave them in for about 5-10 minutes, and we'll check them and go from there. So while it's soaking, I went and got a stiff bristle brush, a little brass brush. I use little like cheap dollar store brass brushes all the time for cleaning bike parts. Anything silver and anodized, or even just regular silver, even some black parts you can scrub tough baked on grease. It really helps and it won't leave any marks or scratches on the surface. Can't do it on paint. I also got some gray, like heavy, like cheap Harbor Freight buffing compound and a bigger buffing wheel. It's got some little drill bit ones for a craft electric drill. I'm going to do it by hand and try it out. And a little Scotch-Brite. The guy said to rub it with Scotch-Brite. Scotch-Brite seems heavy to me. I just use a 3MD burring wheel, which is like a heavy Scotch-Brite and a real fine grit. I can skip all the sanding steps. I've also done this with the hard way by sanding it all out with a file, get it smooth, taking the 80 grit, get it smooth, and then going 160, 240, 330, 6, 12, 2000 grit, just spending hours sanding stuff. And that works, but the 3MD burring wheel is amazing. The Scotch-Brite will help a little bit. I always use a heavy-duty welding glove whenever I'm doing any polishing work because it gets hot. Everyone's like, the polish isn't supposed to get black, the polish is not supposed to get hot. It's a lie, it always does, there's nothing you can do. So I'm going to hold the crank, maybe even push it down against the truck, use the drill on its side to go up and down to polish the parts. I also grabbed the very scruffy seat post. I hit it with a little file to get off any of the big burrs, and then in the bike stand I just buffed it with some 80 grit to kind of give it like an even uniform gray scratch look, which is what a lot of mechanics do with a lot of old parts that aren't anodized and they're silver. But I'm going to buff it. I'm assuming it's going to show all the scratches and I'll hate it, so I might come back out and sand it a little bit. But I'm also going to use that heavy duty compound first. I usually do like a 3 or 4 stage, the buffing compound, instead of doing like 20 steps with the sandpaper and all the nonsense. I like to go like the 3MD burring wheel, like a heavy polish for like cast iron, then like a stainless polish, then like an aluminum polish. You can go with a white rouge for aluminum. You can go with a brown rouge for like gold and silver. That'll kind of make it look a little better, but really the white does most of it. I like the heavier stainless stuff for doing a little pre-cutting, really getting down there, so I'm spending a lot of time sanding, making it look pretty good. So you can really see how scruffy and gross this is. It has to have been at least 10 minutes on this stuff. So we're gonna just mess with it a little bit and see. Drain cleaner's nasty. The drain cleaner's also really old. Probably opened it a year ago. It's been sitting in the bathroom, so I decided to go with it instead of going and buying something new. Because it's already sitting here. That looks like it's doing something. You can sort of see the champagne going away with the little brass brush. There's definitely still some grease residue on the rings. The grease residue will stop the anodized stripping from working, so you really do want to clean your parts first if they're used. Something I should have thought about, I guess. I'm going around all the teeth now, getting the grease off. And I can see it on the face taking some of this gold off. Got this knife. No tip. I use a screwdriver all the time. Let's see if we can get into this buffing wheel and stuff, and also pull out. So if you can see, there's the champagne, and above it's dull gray. That's the raw aluminum. So the wire brush and this stuff really is helping. Here's the crank arm. Down here you can sort of see where's silver at anoe. Now with like a black part, it's a lot easier because you can see the black sort of come off and leave like a dull black residue that you know will wash right off. Now if I was doing this for a really nice bike or if it's still at the shop, you can see all these little hammer marks. I would have taken this and really used the deburring wheel and got rid of all of them. Just cut into this aluminum, got rid of all the scratches and imperfections, and blended and smoothed it in so it all looked flat and nice. But it'll look 80% good, and it's only going on a 50% bike, so the Shogun's frame is a little uck. I'm going to rinse these parts so we can do some actual scrubbing. And now I swear I can see that ano again. Yeah, this one looks scrubbing that first spot, not the rest of it. It looks kind of gold. I wonder if I'm re-anodizing on accident. So I'm not going to dump this junk out yet in case we want to put these back in. But we are going to do a little buffing. Got a crappy drill. Make sure buff motor's in tight. Polish is in a little bit of a cardboardy sleeve. I'm trying to load a little bit on here. It's not very working, but and I can't really tell at all. I'm gonna go to this one really shiny spot on this crank. Load up. Loading up. It doesn't really want to go this way. There we go. Now loaded up. Got the drill press going the right way. You can see how shiny and smooth that is right there. So it is working. It is kind of taking out the scratches if I really push on it. You can really see the scratches over here. Let's do a little bit more. It's making it kind of shiny, especially in the spot where it's already loaded up. Let's keep loading this. So the whole thing's getting kind of shiny and kind of smooth. Slow and hard because it's a hand thing. I'm going to try the backside with some of the Scotch-Brite. See if this makes it better or worse. It doesn't look like it's doing anything at all. So it is definitely kind of working. You can still see this dark stuff. And it looks kind of mangy. Like, I think that's still anodizing, you know? Like, we didn't get it all off. It's a little scruffy. Maybe the stuff's just cutting through it. Yeah, it's just like dry as kind of gold again. So I'm going to say more time. The worst case, you leave it in too long and it starts corroding and pitting a little bit. It's already all mangled and gross and whatever, so I say it's cool. So while the other stuff's soaking, I decided to give this hardcore gray compound a little work on this crappy old seat post. It seems like it's working a little bit. It's still real gross. It's barely helping, but it doesn't look much worse than it was on there, so I think that stuff's probably working all right. Yeah, the brown's the fine, the white's the aluminum. We're gonna aluminum it. You really don't want to mix, or keep your wheels separate. So afterwards I'm going to keep each wheel in a Ziploc bag with the buffing compound so I know which wheel's which. Just because you don't want to like do a bunch of really fine work, get almost done, and accidentally put a rough one on again. Make it a little grosser and more scuffy. Leave a lot of wax on there. It's getting a little brighter. I probably really should have sanded this out a few more steps. Maybe I will. I think if the cranks come out really good, I'll get real happy. Sand that out. Okay, it has to have been at least another 10 or 15. This is kind of cleaning it off too. I have the deburring wheel. I mean, that is really what this step's replacing. Is the deburring wheel really sanded and blasted the cranks after ano stripping. Either way, that's taking too long. You can see where it's lighter where I just hit it with a wire brush. You can see where it's real dark after soaking the ano tank some more. And can't even tell where I polished it before. So I say let's just hit this again. And you can see it's getting pretty bright and light. So I don't think we need to scuff it anymore. I think we can just spend some time hitting it. This low power drill and this crappy wheel, and it's just going to take a while, I guess. 10 or 15 seconds and it's really starting to work. Well, I did it again, foolishly. My phone being slow because I'm in desperate use of space for the videos. They take so much data, or gigabytes or whatever. I accidentally erased a whole bunch of video of me polishing these cranks. So what I will do is quickly explain what I erased. So I got frustrated with the Drano. It wasn't really taking the ano off. It's sort of working a little bit on this non-drive crank. And so I went ahead and decided to go do the sandpaper steps. I didn't have enough of the right sandpaper, so I didn't sand it out as well as I should have, but it's a scruffy bike and it's going to be shiny. So even though it's got a lot of sand scratches, whatever, the whole frame's scuffy. So I just took some paper. I had some like 100 grit. I folded it over, and just sanded everywhere. Did the same thing with the chain ring. And then I had some 220 and I folded that over and just did that. Changed the paper out once in a while, pretty quick because it builds up full of grit and plugs up the sandpaper. And then I had some like 400, and that's all I had. I really should have gone, 6 and 1,000 and 2,000 if you don't want to see any scratches. Sanded it all out, hit it with a little polishing wheel a couple more times. Once I sanded it out and got through the ano, it just, cleaned up immediately. I could tell when I was buffing that this was not shining up at all. The teeth were, because the teeth had some wear from the chains that had worn through the ano. Like, okay, the ano looks like it's gone. It was in the drain cleaner for 20 minutes. It still wasn't gone. It was junk. So sanded it, polished it. It came out pretty fast after that. And as you'll see from the next section, we bolted on and figured out the bottom bracket. Alright, so I got the Shogun in the stand again after weeks and weeks and weeks. I hit it with a little bit of a polish and a rag and it's buffed it. It really shined the paint up even though it was rusty and crusty and gross. It was fun. I put a little fresh grease in the headset. I was going to change it out for a nicer one, and I was like, everything else is so scruffy. Like, just leave that scruffy headset in. So I buffed it with a little bit of chrome polish. And a little shinier, a little less rusty, but not much. I polished up those cranks. Throw a bottom bracket in. I have like a 110 Shimano. I think that'll be the right size, but I have no idea for these cranks. So we'll throw that in and try these cranks, and then we'll see. I dug around and I found some single speed chain bolts. Like this should all be pretty fun. First thing I'm gonna do is squeeze some fresh grease in here, both sides. Get in those threads. Get in those threads. This is just a used Shimano 110 I found lying around. I started the threads, they didn't feel quite right, so I went backwards. Sometimes that lets them fall into place. So I'll get catched and then right in, no problem. And then the drive side is reversed. So I'm just trying to feel it out. It's hard to do with greasy fingers. I think we're there, it's nice and smooth. Since it's going in real straight, it's tight or binding or not going in straight, don't force it, you just destroy the threads in the frame. Just keep trying until you get it just right. Yeah, these are both going in super smooth. Nice. And most of the way, it's probably safe to tool. I like to do a little bit on both sides, really make sure everything's straight and cool. A little back and forth, back and forth. I don't want to bottom out this non-drive cup. The drive side's the fixed cup, which means the cup's not separate from the bottom bracket, it's built in. We want this one to be real tight. Cinch it up all the way first, and then we'll cinch in the non-drive side. Okay, the stand. That's real tight. And we'll finish up this side. Real tight. Shoulder popping tight. Here's that polished crank. Ooh, way too tight. So the inside lip on this crank is hitting the frame. So you can't even press it on. It's sitting there, hitting the frame. So it's gonna kind of come out. You know, at least 4, 5, 6 millimeters. We need like a 118 or something. At a minimum. Wah wah. Good thing I got this body bracket in so tight. Whoa. Don't slip. So I talk about this sometimes, jut, and I feel like most people probably don't really understand what I'm saying. So here, you can see, why are you being so bright, light? This is the Shimano 110. This is the drive side face, and it's sticking out about 17 millimeters. We know it's got to come out a little farther. So the overall length is one thing, but the jut, just where it sticks out from the drive side face, just how far the drive side sticks out, is a whole different thing. So this one, you can see that 17 millimeters on there, whereas it actually, it's about 22. That's about 5 millimeters longer, so, and this is a 118. So, I'm gonna try this. The other cup's already the right size, we'll just leave it in there. It's already the same Shimano cup. But we want to make sure it's not causing any bottoming out. So we're just going to back it out a little bit. Perfect. Let's get all the way in. Remember, this drive side is reverse thread, so it's lefty-tighty. That's true on English threaded bikes. Italian bikes, other bikes are different. You got to look them up. Go to sheldonbrown.com. It's really easy to figure stuff out. It's clear diagrams. It's the best place to learn your specific details and what you're trying to figure out. Okay, 118. Should we tighten this cup in, or should we learn our lesson and check it first? I agree. Let's just tighten it and hope it's right. Try number 2. Perfect. So this inner lip, which is the farthest point the crank sticks out, still has 3, 4, 5, well, I'm going to say 3 or 4 millimeters from the frame. So once we press it on, it'll press on another 2 millimeters. It'll get real close, but still keep this crank in as far as we want. For single speeds on vintage bikes, you want 42.5 millimeters. So you measure that from the center line of the frame tube to where the chainring is going to sit, so on the front face of this lip. Guessing it's about the center. That looks just about right. Once this pushes in, it'll be just right, or maybe even a millimeter too narrow. We also want to make sure that the ring is going to sit on here and not hit the frame. Because the frame gets wider and wider as it comes towards the rear end. But no problem, it's a real small ring. I think it'd clear no problem. If we were smart, we'd put those chainring bolts on right now. So these are just some silver single-speed chainring bolts. You can tell because this inner lip is much shorter. The road doubles are like 3 or 4 millimeters longer to make up for the extra ring. I like to use the recessed face. That's what it's there for. It's a chainring bolt to sit inside. A lot of cheap rings don't have the recessed face. People put them on backwards, and then things come loose, things aren't enough. It's not cool, man. I'm putting it so the J42 reads up, right side up when the crank's all the way down. I don't know why, I don't think it really matters. On real track cranks, this lip would be machined off, and there'd probably be another machined recess in the back of the crank. These aren't real track cranks. If I wanted to, I could take a file or a grinder and grind that lip off. And if I needed to for chain line or whatever, I probably would. It's not as scary as it sounds. Second ring, and that really tightens down. You get them all in, then we're going to go do them like lug nuts on a car. We go around and cross tighten each and every one. Go around, do that twice, make sure everything's really tight. Snugged up and secure. Normally, chainring bolts is sort of snug right up. These ones are a little crusty, and they're being grumpy, so I'm going to have to actually use my chainring bolt tool. So this is a Sagino chainring bolt tool. It's got a little lip, so it's a little deeper to fit inside the chainring, a little shallower to fit inside these grooves on the bolt. And you often don't need them. If you do need them, you usually need them when you're taking chainrings off, because they're on really tight and stuck. So it just fits inside the little grooves. They don't fit well, so you really got to hold them in. Now it's tight. Let's go around and check them. No spinning. Tight. 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 So not insanely tight. Just tight enough and go around and snug them a couple of times. So that looks pretty good. Now we need to put some cool crank bolts in. We can put some old school black ones in, put some sweet dust caps on, or really the better thing is to put some like just 8 millimeter, just some like 8 millimeter guys in. Tighten them down, it solves all your problems, they look pretty good and fill the space. Notice the cranks go opposite, one's down, one's up. Newbies like to try and put them both the same direction. A real hard time figuring it out until they actually go ride them. You want them on a little tight, and kind of a little bit more tight. You can absolutely over tighten them to blow the crank all the way out and the square taper punches all the way through and it's no longer a taper. Seen that. You can definitely under tighten them so they come loose while you're riding and the square taper becomes a round taper, and then you do cranks. So pretty tight. Snug, 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 but not so much you get scared. And this is still 3 millimeters of clearance from the frame. Should be fine even if you're really standing and crunching and flexing that frame. Probably won't hit. And if it does, we take them off and we can grind this back arm down and not care. So alright, cranks in. Got the grungy old seat post. It's already got grease in there. Slide it down to that minimum line. We'll adjust for height later, but get it real pro for now. It's just spinning. Yep. Something going on the other side. So this is just spinning and spinning. It's definitely got a weird slot, kind of like a chainring bolt. We don't have the right tool. We don't have to go find the vintage weird tool. We just have to get this to hold long enough for the other side to cinch up and make it catch. So I got a couple little tiny pocket screwdrivers. Got this one for $1 at a garage sale. Always buy these little guys. Oh, and that fits right in. It's only one side. It's not ideal. But again, it just has to hold it still for a second until the friction catches it. It makes it actually be able to tighten up. It's being a jerk. Does it catch? Nope. Wow, it is really being a jerk. There's a couple things you can do when you find really weird seat post spider bolts. You can throw them away and use like a... So this bolt's usually just an M6. V-brakes come as weird M6 nut. So you use spacers all the time because you can stick an M5 bolt in there. It's actually a big washer. They have a regular old Allen wrench on this side, M6 on this side. They're round. They usually fit right in and solve all your problems. Everyone thinks these things are a giant problem, and they're really, really, really not. Now I got it quite a bit tighter. Let's see if I can get it loose. I think it's really just not catching because the grease is dry. It's just like gritty. Yeah, this thing's just too weird of a little specialized nut. The dumb little flats. It's no bueno. Let's try just using this V-brake nut. You can see I'm just holding it, turning this side. This is telling me the seat post is a size too small, so that's hilarious. Probably part of the problem. There it is. It barely sticks out. It's got wrench flats. It's pretty subtle. Probably problem solved on frames where people throw them away because they're like, oh, you can't find the special thing. V-brake nuts. Bangarang. In the last video, we spaced and aligned the fork and the rear end. It's ready for single speed. I got the wheels. Ooh, polished seat posts and cranks. Ooh. Thanks for watching.